Hey, what's up, everyone? We are back with episode 5 of Kale and Kettlebells. And today we are just going to discuss the Saudi Pro League. Um, the reality is, whatever somebody thinks about it or not, I mean, it's happened. It's going to continue to happen. And from my perspective, just as a fan, it's producing some very good matches and a very good title race. So I just wanted to do an episode to discuss it. And
And
I guess
clarify what you mean by it's happening or it's happened, as in
Yeah, well, Saudi Arabia is investing a
players.
lot of money.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia is investing a large amount of money into their soccer league. They're bringing, incredible talents to the league. Like young top players are coming in. I mean, we don't know how long it will last and if they'll give up on it in the same way that China did. I mean, if so, for context, I can't remember 5, 10 years ago, the Chinese Super League did something different where, and actually I was talking to our cousin Christian about this the other night. So they brought in a bunch of talent, but I don't think they brought talent at this level. Like, for example, I remember Paulinho, who was like a player I really like, the box to box mid. He and Talisca played together on, I think the team was Guangzhou Evergrande, which was the top team in China. And they were going like 30 goals a season. You know, players like Bakambu, who actually plays for Betis now. He scored the other day in the conference. He was playing in China. Yannick Carrasco was playing in China. With Axel Witsel was playing in China. But I don't think they created a top four in the same. Like, obviously Ronaldo helps with that, of course, in the same way that the Saudis have done it. And the atmosphere at the games, like for me, I watch the games occasionally. The atmosphere is really good. But before we get into that, I mean, and I know you're slightly less familiar with the Saudi league than I am. But what are your thoughts from a distance
Yeah.
and your curiosities or questions about it?
Sure. Yeah. Let's see where to start. So I'm mainly familiar with the players that have gone over there. You have your Contes, obviously Ronaldo, Mane, like obviously players. Well, most players who are sort of past their prime or maybe don't want to have to play to the same level of competition as they were, whether it be the Prem or other top 3 to 5 leagues. Um, and then I can't remember which player off the top of my head. I remember there was a bit of sort of a buzz around that one very young player who went, and a few other younger players now recently, John Duran, right? Um,
John Duran is there. Oh my
who's
God.
basically not even at his prime yet, who's a very talented player who's performing well in the Prem as far as I could tell, and he was getting a lot of hype around him, deservedly so, and now he goes to the Saudi League. So yeah, you know,
Gabri Vega. So I had a brain fart. I knew it's Al Akli. And it's not just players past their prime. That's the funny thing. So just
yeah,
just on Al Akli's lineup, okay, Ibanez, who played for Roma, the
mhm,
Brazilian. From what I've seen him play, like the games I've seen him play, he
very
plays
good.
very well for them.
Yeah,
Frank Kessie,
yeah,
Ivan Tony, who's like in his prime, Demiral, who played in Serie A for Juventus and Atalanta, Edward Mendy, who kind of like the Senegalese keeper, who kind of like
sort of
was
fell off a
past
bit.
his prime.
Yeah, yeah.
Galeno, who played for Porto, he scored against Arsenal. I don't know if you remember that goal he scored against Arsenal in the Champions League. I think
I
last year, the
can't
year
recall off the
before.
top of my head.
It's actually really
Oh wait,
nice. It's
no,
a
yeah,
really
no, no,
nice one.
yeah, no. You
Yeah.
know what? Even though I can't remember exactly how it was, I remember it was an epic goal.
Yeah,
Remind
yeah.
me exactly how that goal played out because I do remember it was an
It
insane
was it
goal.
was a shot from distance. And I don't think it actually mattered in the game. I can't recall now. I think Arsenal
They
still went through.
his team ended up losing. Yeah,
Yeah. And I mean, look, and Al Akli, which is one of the top four teams, they also have. I'm having serious. I'm so
well, no, I
crazy
mean
about
you're
brain
recalling
freezes.
a lot of it to be honest off the top.
Um,
So
their manager's name Christoph Matthias Eisel. Sorry, he's like a young manager. They got him from Red Bull Salzburg, which is like the top club
wow,
in Austria. The guy's funny, and if you know, you need to Google him because like he's actually like he looks like a male, like adult actor. Like he's a good looking guy. He's very well dressed, and he's just so funny. Like he's like dressed in the nines, like
that's
extremely
funny.
fit, like jack guy, but he's their coach. Um, it's just always funny. Like when you see like a manager, like managers traditionally are not necessarily like young, fit guys. So it's
Sure,
just
yeah,
so
it's
funny to
out
see
of
him.
the norm. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah. I mean, they just signed this guy, Matteo Dams, this 21-year-old Belgian from PSV,
Hmm.
Al Akli. And so for those who don't know, I mean, the top four teams in Saudi Arabia are Al Akli, Al Nasser, which is Ronaldo's team, um, Al Hilal, which is like the traditional powerhouse, and that was Neymar's team. not anymore. And then Al Ittihad, which is Benzema's team, and then there's also Al Qadzia, and I might pronounce it wrong. That's Obama
Yeah.
Yang's team, and those are the top five. And when they play each other, it is like it feels like a champions. I mean, obviously, maybe not a knockout stage Champions League game, but
Yeah.
it feels like a Champions League group
As
stage
far as the
game.
atmosphere is what to be clear, I mean, as far as
Yeah,
the
the
atmosphere, I
quality's
think,
good too. The quality
yeah,
of the games are good too,
yeah.
but the
But I think
atmosphere is
it's important
incredible.
to clarify that it's not going to be, and because a
Yeah,
lot of anyone who down the road might listen to it, it shouldn't be construed like, and maybe that's part of the nuance that we can talk about today. I know you're a fan of the league, you like the level of competition, you think, they're actually better than maybe a lot of people give them credit for, but it's obviously not anywhere close to Champions League level. But the
no,
atmosphere is
definitely not
like
elimination
they're doing
stage.
something
Yeah,
right. Yeah, clearly there's passion in that region. I think it
the
shows.
tifos are amazing. If you have an opportunity, I mean, and ideally when we have more production value, we can put some stuff up as we talk about it. But the tifos they do during the matches, especially like the derbies, like the fans do, are so cool.
What's the main
Like
difference between, because I can't picture it, and I don't even pay attention to the tifos even in a
they're like
regular
characters. They're like
match. So
characters. Like usually in the Premier League, you don't. I don't think they're allowed to even bring that stuff in where you have like an actual character. Let me see if I can.
yeah,
I mean, yeah. Maybe I'll show you one, and then maybe we can
sure.
put it up in the.
I'll try to pull up something real quick too.
Yeah, I would just type in Saudi League tifo.
Yeah,
Oh
get
yeah,
a
I mean,
visual image.
just yeah.
Oh wow,
Oh
yeah, it's pretty
yeah,
pretty
Sub
cool.
Zero. Look at the Al Hilal fans at Sub Zero one game. Just yeah, incredible. And that's just
Cool.
me watching the few
For
games I watch. I'm
Yeah, for
always
anyone, I'll
impressed.
just throw this out for anyone curious if you want to look it up, if you happen to be listening. You want to see what we're sort of looking at. It actually, it is quite special compared to anything you would normally see in a stadium.
It's yeah, no, it's oh, they have a one piece
Fascinating.
tifo. Yeah, the fans, I gotta give them credit. The fans are amazing. Like in the top four
Interesting.
games that I watch, they're amazing. I mean, and for me, I'm not trying to watch anything besides the top 4 or 5 teams play each other. Like I'm not gonna go watch Ronaldo's team win 5-0 against some scrubs. That
Yeah,
doesn't interest me. But when the top 4 teams are playing, the title race is really good. So like I follow it closely.
true.
So just to give you some context, Marco. So
Mhm.
Saudi League table. So what we have is Ronaldo's team is playing right now. They're up by 3. So you have Al Ittihad, that's Benzema's team. Benzema, Conte, Steven Bergwijn, Hassam Alouar, Fabinho, and they had a Serbian goalkeeper which they signed from Mallorca. So most of the starting lineup are like players that either could play or have played in the Champions League, or
Yeah,
like theoretically
in on.
could play for a group stage club at
Yeah,
minimum.
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Or
that
it's not
that's
a, yeah,
fair. That's
you
totally
know.
fair. Yeah, that's totally fair.
Um, and sorry, Musa Diaby as well.
Yeah,
That's Al
Diaby.
Ittihad who's leading, right? They're on
Yeah.
61 points.
Mhm.
Like Diaby has the most assists right now in the Saudi. He's got 13 assists.
That's a surprising
Um,
fact. Yeah,
by
good for
far.
him.
Yeah, he's by
Good for
far.
him.
The second most is Salam Al Dosari, who is maybe one of the best Saudi Arabian players of all time. He's the one who scored the bicycle kick against Argentina.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's good.
Crazy.
Like
Yeah, he is
he's a very
legitimately,
good player.
yeah,
Yeah.
outstanding. Yeah,
I mean, he's an 80
that's
in
true.
FIFA. He's an 80 gold in FIFA, I think, and that's like for Saudi, that's pretty impressive, right?
Yeah,
So So yeah, you have Al Ittihad's in the top by significant margin. Like Benzema's got like 16 goals, 7, 8 assists. So he's having a crazy season right now, and his team is very good, obviously.
yeah,
Conte makes a big difference. Like I've seen Conte in real life one time, and like he's special. He's still getting called up for France, right? I mean that kind of says it all.
yeah. That's pretty
It doesn't
crazy.
matter where he plays, like he's
Yeah,
still a starter for France.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
That's pretty crazy when you think
you
about
know,
the defensive midfielders that France has. Like, the other. Well, I don't know who he's starting over, but the first people that come to mind are Kamavinga, Chouameni. I'm not sure which one of them are starting beside him or whatever, or how they line up, but um, obviously they can't
let
fit
me
all
actually make
their.
sure he got called up.
Oh, true.
I'm I,
Yeah. Well, at least recently,
I'm checking
maybe
them.
not this year, but
So he's not in the most recent squad.
okay.
So now I don't know if that what the reason is behind that. But he's actually not in the most recent squad. The most recent squad call ups are Camavinga, Guendouzi, Kone, Chouameni, Zaire Emery, and Rabiot. So who knows if
Sure.
he's giving him a rest
He
or
must be older than all. I mean, obvious. obviously he's older than most of them. I assume he's probably older than all those that you just mentioned. I don't know, I could be wrong, but when these things come up, my first thing that always comes to mind is their age, right? And Conte, even from a more casual perspective, I know you're a big fan of Conte, you've watched a lot of him play, but I would assume you can't keep that high that high level engine running like for years on end without slowing down a little bit. His gameplay, his effect on the game is a lot based on his ability to just keep going like a relentless
for sure.
animal.
Yeah, his
So with
game is
each
based on
passing
that for sure.
year, like his game isn't based around skill or finesse. Obviously, he has some elements of that. Um, these
He's
other younger
deceivingly good.
players,
He's deceivingly influential in the game.
for
You
sure, he's
notice it like
extremely influential.
yeah.
I'm just saying, you
Uh,
know,
in the final third, he's less useful, but in the other 2/3 of the pitch, he's pretty solid.
well, yeah, I know he, and again, you know more about this than I do, but he was the key signing and difference maker for Leicester's iconic, unbelievable,
100%.
you know, EPL title. So
It
without
it
him, they
could
don't
be
even come anywhere. I mean, it's not even
no
close.
with him and Mahrez and Conte was like that.
Yeah,
What
him,
like
Mahrez,
what they
and
did
even
was
Vardy. Yeah,
Vardy. Yeah, yeah,
Vardy.
sorry, him
Yeah,
him, him
yeah,
Mahrez and Vardy.
yeah.
Um,
That's crazy. That's like a
he's not
fourth of
retired
them
from
right there.
France. Yeah, he's not retired from France. I checked
Yeah,
his wiki. So whether or not, yeah, I realize now he got called up for the Euros after not getting called up for 2 years. So I don't know. I don't know if he's in Deschamps' plans or not. Um, so yeah, I guess
sure.
that's fair enough.
Sure. But the fact that he up until now has been a key part of France's midfield with those
Yeah.
other players, like those players are most of them are elite players. Camavinga, Chouameni, even Rabiot. I don't know as much about Rabiot, but I hear a lot of good things about him. People, well, maybe,
He had a great season for Juventus. He's just a unit, he's a
yeah,
unit. He's playing for Marseille now, and like I'm just not going to watch Marseille games just because they're not really involved in meaningful games. But
yeah,
he's a top player, he's just the reality. He's played whatever club he goes to, he's probably automatic beyond the top clubs. He's like the starting. He's
yeah.
gonna start.
Actually,
Um,
this could be a little bit of a side topic here. When it comes to international tournaments, if I remember correctly, it seems like these coaches have a strong bias towards players that are playing for top five
yeah,
leagues at least, or relatively strong teams. So maybe that does play a role in why Conte, maybe as he ages a
for
little bit, his
sure.
form dips, but also the fact that there must be something behind the scenes where they sort of evaluate that when a player isn't playing in the top 3 to 5 leagues, that they maybe get used to a slightly lesser level of competition. Maybe that kind of
For,
thing, like
for,
at the
for
highest
sure.
level, they factor that in, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I don't think that Diaby. I mean, Diaby's not really a top player for France anyway. So I don't think he got
No,
called up. I
no.
doubt I
They have
doubt
way
it.
too much talent up top, I think. Even
Yeah,
though
they got too much talent.
I like Diaby. He's a unique player. He's a great player. But yeah.
Yeah, and then you have like, I mean, so Sadio Mane has 7 assists. Benzema's got 8. So Ivan Tony, I watched out his team play the other day, and he got a hat trick, and he's coming on strong. Like he's a joy to watch at that level. Obviously,
Yeah.
I don't think he got called up for England. Rashford did actually. Rashford got called up,
Mm.
but I don't know how it's going to affect his ability to get called up, or maybe if Thomas Tuchel's not going to. It's kind of interesting to see like if he keeps banging goals in. I mean, Ronaldo
Sure.
still gets called up for Portugal, but that's a bit
Yeah,
of a
yeah.
unique situation.
Yeah, yeah.
Benzema doesn't have a good relationship with the France team, so that's kind of
That's interesting.
a moot point. Um, let's see the Brazil squad actually for a second because Galeno and Marcos Leonardo. Marcos Leonardo is this Brazilian from Benfica that plays for Al Hilal. He's got 16 goals.
Yeah.
So he's doing very well. Let's see
And he's
who
very
got
young
called
as
up.
well, I think, right?
Very young.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. This will be interesting. No, it's very well true. Like going to Saudi Arabia, you make a lot of money, but you could be ruled out from playing for your national team. So let's
Yeah.
just see here with
And
Brazil.
even when it comes to Benzema, like I know you're saying he's having a great season, but I think no one cares compared to like the previous year when he had that iconic run with Real
Yeah.
Madrid and then he goes and gets the payday. But he basically, as far as popularity or relevance, just falls off a cliff. Basically, that's the trade off. That's the trade
Yeah.
off.
So basically, very interesting. So Bento is the Brazilian keeper. He's the third choice keeper. He plays for Al Nassr. He got called up, but no Galeno, no Marcos Leonardo. But you got, I mean, you look at the Brazil's forwards: Vinicius, Rodrigo, Rafinha.
Yeah,
What a front three,
that's insane.
and then João Pedro, who's obviously playing in the Prem, and then Savinho. It's true. Like all else equal, you probably are gonna pick the players playing in the Prem. It's true.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh
Or La Liga, obviously.
yeah, yeah. Or sorry,
Well,
or any
obviously.
of the top leagues. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, no, that's fair.
Mhm. So let me ask
But
you this actually. Okay, so
yeah.
I think for people who aren't paying close attention to the Saudi League, and myself included, right?
Mhm.
Um, are there any sort of interesting developments that you have a bit more insight on than the typical person? I'm sure you do, as far as what exactly they're pushing for in terms of competitions that they can become relevant or involved in. Like, because obviously, with all that money they're spending, they're not just spending money, as we know, to just make their domestic league more competitive within itself. That's obviously not the primary goal. So yeah, what are they doing sort of internationally? What are they trying to get involved in?
Yeah, well, I think the goal is that they want to have a top five league. I mean, that's their vision, right? They're trying to create, and you've seen like the memes and the tropes, and like Ronaldo said that the Saudi league's better than the French league right now. You know, that's I think that's probably a bit of a stretch, realistically. I mean, given how good PSG is playing,
Yeah.
and then that, you know, you got guys like, you know, Jonathan David and Mason Greenwood and other good players. It's so hard to
Yeah. And
cross
it's
compare
yeah.
leagues
Yeah.
because what's the metric? The best team, the competition. Certainly in terms of competition for the title, the Saudi league has one of those compelling competition. I mean, it is like Al Ittihad separating a little bit, but the competition and when the top four teams play, like I'll tell you right now, I would rather watch Al Ittihad play Al Akli than to watch PSG play Monaco.
Yeah, there's a little
Personally,
basically what you're saying is there's a bit more parity in the league, partly because there's not
yeah,
a runaway leader like PSG and
yeah,
Ligue 1 have a problem, I guess, with that a little bit. But
yeah.
in terms of okay, so basically what you're saying is they do obviously want to make their league more competitive so that they can end up in becoming a top 5 league. But what comes with that, or more importantly, like the main relevant stuff is just like how everyone cares about the UCL, right?
Right.
Because it's the best of the best competing and figuring out who's the last team standing. So what is the Saudi League's sort of vision, or the people who are funding this initiative? Like, what do you think their vision is as far as like international sort of competitions?
Well, I mean you hear talk about they want to one day have Saudi Arabian league teams in the European Champions League. I mean, money talks, right? Who knows if that will ever happen or not? Um, but no, I think what they want is they want the world's eyes watching Saudi Arabian soccer, and they're getting closer and closer. That's the reality. I mean, it's going to get to the point because what happens? It's like, okay, you check, like for me, what do? I check the matches on the day. So I watch soccer 5 days out of the week, right? I watch a match when I eat dinner at night. So for me, I'm not saying other people do what I do, but I look at the matches that are available for the day and I pick what I believe to be the most um, compelling matchup, right? And so my criteria for that is they're good. I mean, generally speaking, there are good players playing. That's not even always the case because I'll watch second division in England if it's an important game because there's decent players playing there. So generally, there's good players playing, and the match is of relevance, of salience to the standings. So I can tell you, there's been many days where a Saudi Arabian League top four matchup has been that game, and that's
Yeah,
why I watch it,
true.
right? Because obviously, look, I want to see Mahrez and Ivan Toney and Frank Kessie and Galeno do work. I mean, those are good players, right?
Mhm.
Those are good players. Like those are Champions League level players,
Yeah,
right? Like half of Al Akli's starting lineup is a Champions League level team,
true,
right?
true.
So, and then
Yeah,
you have to realize these top four clubs, they also have Saudi Arabia's top players, and Saudi Arabia is a team that qualifies for the World Cup every round, every cycle. Now they're obviously not the best team, but they still qualify, right? And it's not,
fair.
you know, and qualifying out of Asia is not that straightforward. I mean, it's not the hardest, but you do have South Korea, Australia, Japan, Iran. Like There's some modest
Yeah.
competition, but it's not
Sure.
that good. But
Yeah.
so they want. I think what they want is they got me, who's like a bit of an above average in terms of like discernment, understanding these games are good. So they got, but they want to get more and more people
Yeah.
deciding on a given day that this is the match they should watch. And the only way to do that is to continue on the path they're on. And
Yeah.
they're doing a pretty good job for me as a fan. Like when I watch the games, it is the matches are great, and they
Now,
have
how
top
much?
managers too.
Okay, and then also one other factor is the atmosphere. Obviously, there's clearly a lot of passion in the stadium, and that,
Mm-hmm.
as someone watching a game through a screen, like that
Mm-hmm.
translates, right? So obviously that's a factor, and which is probably a bit of a now I don't know much at all about
Mm-hmm.
second division English league, but I assume that's a factor there too, right? I'm assuming the level of passion in that league is like compared to maybe the quality of players compared to other top five leagues,
Mm-hmm.
the passion there is like brings it up a level. Same thing
Yep.
probably in the Saudi league, right?
100%. It absolutely does. I mean, I made a point of even bringing that up. That it's very, very impressive. It's very notable. And yeah, no, you feel when these guys play, like you can. I mean, I think these players are, they're the players they're picking are like, I think men of like pride. Like they're getting paid insane amounts of money, unimaginable amounts of money, but they're stepping on the field and they're like working like they are. You know what
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean? They're not there just chilling.
yeah.
If anyone says that, they're not watching the games when the top teams play,
True.
right? And how the players celebrate. Like these goal, like when they score, like it matters to these players. Like they're going to war. The issue with the Saudi League, the limitation it has, which that, for example, if we compare it, like if we want to compare unconventional leagues, let's think of the English second division, which is the best second division in the world, basically, right? It
Yeah,
makes sense because it's the second division to the best league in the world. Now, the English second division is set up in a way where you have the top two teams are instantly promoted, right? And then 3, 4, 5, 6 go into a multi-round playoff where the winner of that goes through. So in England, you have a race for top two, and then you have a race for top six. So it's extremely
true.
compelling. It's
Yeah,
extremely fascinating to follow. The Saudi League issue that it has is that, you know, in most leagues, the Champions League race is very relevant. But in the Asian Champions League, like no one, like, I mean, it's like modestly relevant, but I don't care who qualifies for the Asian Champions League. I don't care.
yeah.
So it's like all they have, in the same way with MLS in the United States, has all they have is the winner of the title, right? So
Yeah,
so that's what makes it a little bit limited. But then you look at the table, right? So which I'm looking at it now.
yeah,
Okay, well, right now, I mean, let's say Al Akli wins their game in hand. That means 10 points separate 1 and 5. Okay. 10 points separate 1 and 5 with 9 games left.
yeah,
Okay. That's pretty cool. Now we compare that to League One, just for the sake of argument.
yeah.
Okay.
True.
1 and 5 are separated in League One by 20 points.
Yeah, way more,
Okay.
way further away.
That's, and you can't close 10 points is a gap that's not easy to close. Don't get me wrong, but it's closable. 20 points is absurd.
Yeah,
Right. And by the way, the gap between 1 and 2 in France is 16 points.
yeah.
So it's like, it's not,
Yeah.
there's nothing to watch.
So
I
if
mean, unless you're a fan
yeah,
of a team,
yeah,
right?
makes sense. And if it weren't for the more meaningful international qualifying, um, then there would be even less relevance. It'd be less appealing, obviously. Yeah.
And the reality is, and we also let's add one more layer. Okay. So let's compare these two leagues because they've been compared, and I'm not trying to say that the Saudi League is better. That's probably a big statement, and it's very hard to compare leagues like that. But let's put it this way. Okay. These French teams are realistically, I mean, besides PSG, there's not really any candidates in the French leagues for the last 8 in the Champions League. You know, okay. So what does that mean? Is that, I mean, yeah, I mean, anyway, there's limitations to that statement, but like, I
Well,
guess
no,
there are
but
candidates.
let's say that's.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think it's pretty fair.
yeah. Whereas like in Italy, okay, Juventus and Milan and Atalanta screwed up, but like I feel they could make the last 8. I don't
Yeah.
think Marseille and Nice, who are the 2 and 3 teams in France, will get the Champions League spots. I don't think they're making the last 8. Okay, that's just my opinion,
Yeah.
and it's all good, right?
Yeah.
So now I have a choice. I can watch Liga where Lyon, and don't get me wrong, these are good teams with some good players and many good internationals, right? Lyon, Lille, Monaco, and Nice and Marseille are fighting for the Champions League. Or I can watch the Saudi League where they're fighting for the league title. You know what I mean? It's like if I have a choice to watch a game, I'm sooner going to watch 1v2, 1v3 in Saudi Arabia than 2v4 in France. And that's just my view.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Personally, as a fan, watch
objectively, that would make sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's and that's just I wanted to do this episode just out of like, as just a fan, like, independent of what people have kind of whatever opinion they want, but just as a fan who likes to watch good games and watch good players play good games. I mean, I like what I watch when I watch the league. I love following the league. And I hope they continually if they evenly stack up the top 5 teams, and some of the lower teams have a few good players here and there. So it's like, it's not complete. It's not easy. Like you can in this league, you can drop points against teams outside the top 5. Okay.
There's a lot of
and I've seen it. I've seen it. Like, relative.
No, compared to other teams, or other leagues. I mean,
I mean, and just to put into perspective, again, let's just do a League One comparison. So Al Ittihad, the top team in Saudi, has 4 draws, 2 losses, and a goal difference of 35. And we'll just compare it to League One, which is kind of an unfair comparison because it's such a gap, but whatever, we'll do that anyway. So PSG has no losses, 5 draws, and a 46 goal difference. So the top team is like it's slightly less dominant in Saudi Arabia, which is, I think, a good thing for the quality of the league.
For sure. Any league in any sport, parity is always a good thing.
Yeah, it's never a bad teams about the draw right now, so that's gonna that's not good for their title hopes.
Yeah, and it's worth clarifying again in case anyone cares at all. I'm different in the sense that I'm the more typical sort of casual fan where I don't like the examples you use for whichever teams are playing in Ligue 1 versus Saudi League. I'm not really caring to watch any of them, right? So that's why this is, because you're sort of educating me and people who might be interested in getting to know a little bit more about the Saudi League from someone like you who actually pays fairly close attention, compared to most people.
It's more so just me talking about something of interest about soccer. And also for anyone out there, if you're in Canada, you got DAZN and you like to watch soccer like I do, I would say watching the top 4 teams in Saudi Arabia, the top 5 teams, actually, even the top 6 teams, it's a good game. It's good entertainment. And the matches are relevant to the title, because the title race in England is done. The title race in France is done. Title race in Germany, I can't say it's done because I just said 10 points is still a meaningful race. So if 10 points is, 8 points is, but it's, I think it's,
well, it's not just about points. It's about points, but also considering how strong, on paper, the first place team is compared to the others, right? So the points is just one factor, right?
Yeah, I mean the Dutch league is a good race. Let's see. Even though
I actually just clarify what I mean by that is Bayern is an insanely stacked team who's playing extremely well and expected to do well with all their resources. So 8 points in that league is probably a little bit wider of a gap to close than maybe 10 points in the Saudi league, maybe, right?
Yeah. And there's more top teams that play each other, right? I mean, it's tough. It's tough because it's like, now you got teams like Dortmund and Leipzig who are not having good seasons. They are good teams. So if they play Bayern, it's theoretically a good game, but they're not. Dortmund's playing to try and make the Champions League places. When Al Ittihad plays Al Nassr's trying to close that gap to fight for the title.
Yeah.
It's a different vibe. Like,
I'm
not a professional player, so I can't attribute how intensely they look at it. But I think as a human, psychologically, it's not going to be the same intensity, even though it's still going to be intense. Obviously, it is. Right.
So let me ask you this, just to rewind back to the question, because I think if a lot of more casual fans are thinking along the lines that I am, the thing that interests me the most as someone who is not watching professional soccer 5 days a week, who has played competitive soccer as a teenager and a preteen, but is not actively watching a lot of professional soccer unless it's the most relevant, with you and Christian and family and friends and stuff. it all comes back to international competition. So, do you have a prediction, or do you have any inkling, or any, you know, has there been any discussions that someone like me wouldn't be keenly aware of, as far as specifically what you think is most likely to happen with the Saudi League in international competition moving forward into the, let's say, the next 2 to 5 years or something? Like, what do you think? In what way do you think that league is trying to sort of make their mark beyond whatever they have been in the past, right? Because you're saying the how do you refer to it? The
The
Asian
Asian Champions League and the Asian
Champions
Champions
League.
League is
Let's
spicy
Sure, I'm
as
sure it
well.
is, but let's just cut right to it.
Yeah,
The
I think
typical
like
soccer fan doesn't care, right? I don't care
yeah,
about that, about the competition. Let's be real. Most people, you take
yeah,
a random pool of 100 fans
that's
of
fair.
the game, like almost none of them care. So
Yeah,
obviously the Saudi League has an interest in being relevant worldwide. So obviously their ambition would be at a different angle or in a different direction, right? So what do you think? What do you think that kind of looks like with all the money they have and the direction you think they would like to get involved? Like,
yeah. I mean, money. Like, I mean, look, it's gonna take time and time, corruption, and money for for the Saudi Arabian League to have an entrant into Europe. Maybe what the champion. I mean, how might they do it? Let's just say, sake of
yeah,
argument.
that's what I'm
Let's
curious about.
propose what they could do to make it fair. They would have to make it so that the winner of the Asian Champions League was allowed. But the problem is there's massive logistical concerns because the travel would be insane. Because then you're asking on a weekly or bi-weekly basis to fly from, what if a team from Japan wins the Champions League, right? So either the Saudi Arabian League buys the spot outright in like some sort of like
Oh,
money
it's
talk type
crazy.
of
Yeah,
way, or if they do it fairly, then the only way that they could do it is make it so the Asian Champions League winner goes to the Champions League in Europe next year as like a
yeah,
reward, knowing that that's the pinnacle of European soccer.
that would
And
make
so,
sense.
and the Saudi Arabian League teams, well, obviously they're going to be very well positioned because there are some good players in Asia. For example, Oscar still plays in China,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
But obviously the Saudi Arabian League teams are best suited to win. Just like how the last 8 of the Europa League, there's Man United and Spurs, both of whom are not going to qualify to the Champions League directly. And if they win the Europa League and they're getting very close, they're going to the Champions League next year. That's like a massive deal,
Yes.
right? So they're going to be more incentivized because the Champions League is realistically speaking like a greater incentive than the Europa League trophy.
Well, 100%.
You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
But they come together, they go together, right? And that's
Yes,
just the way it is.
they're
So
intertwined
yeah,
in that unique way. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll as the Saudi like another 5-6 games into the season, if it's still relevant, we can revisit this and talk about the matches ahead and all that fun stuff. But yeah, no, it was good stuff, good
Sure.
chat. Glad we did it. When
Cool.
we go on to the next.
Cool. 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 All right. Sounds good. All right. We'll get ready in the coming days for episode 6. All right, everyone.
Yeah.
Whoever's listening, take care.